All right, and we're live for a piece of Ash. It's going to be the second birthday anniversary of Guerrilla Miniature Games edition of a piece of Ash. The co-op and the channel turned 2 today. Well, this week. I was going to use one of these over the weekend because we had this coming on Monday, so I figured I'd save it until now. So we are rocking and rolling with a kind of full show today. I got some announcements, some stuff to show you guys. And then we're going to do the usual Q&A, take some questions from the mailbox, and then take some questions from the chat and just do our usual goofing off. But I decided to save some cool stuff for today. And the first thing is, I got some stuff to show you guys. I've been wondering for a while, one of the most common questions I get is, where can I get one of those measuring tools using all your games? And I ordered a bunch of those from Litco ages and ages and ages ago to use as prizes and giveaways, and I use them in all my battle reports. And people always want to buy them, but I don't sell them. And for a guy whose free time is as limited as mine is, it makes no sense for me to try and turn that into a business as a revenue stream for GMG. Like, just doesn't make sense. So I'd spend more time packing and shipping orders than it would ever possibly make any kind of money. So what I've been looking for a while now is somebody I have a good relationship with who does acrylic and MDF widgets and stuff that is talented and I trust and I want to work with to basically partner with me and handle all the merchandise. And I have a great relationship with Austin over at Death Ray Designs. We did a bunch of work together for Adepticon this year. He's a great guy, just super hardworking and exactly the kind of guy I like featuring on Widgets and Wonders, and I think is just a real asset to the business and the industry in general. And so we partnered up to bring you guys some widgets. So we're going to be showing you guys some cool stuff. We just started off small just to try this out and see if this was something that you guys would like. And so the two, this is all him, by the way. He's the talent. My input into this was basically all gaming related. It was what size should the widgets be. So we came up with 2 widget sizes, evens and odds. The evens ones is 8 by 2 by 1 by 4, which is great for infinity because a double move is 8. You can be 4-2, you can be 8-2, you can be 6, which you can measure with an 8-inch widget, whatever. So it's basically the even sides one. And the odds, which is great for things like 40K, Age of Sigmar, whatever, is 6 by 1 by 3 by a ½ inch. And also great for things like War Machine. So it's a perfect size widget for that. Now the actual design, I just gave him that. That was all the info I gave him. The actual design is all him, and it's super rad. So I'm just going to show you a picture right now, guys, of all of the widgets. So this is all of the widgets that he came up with, and we'll go through them and just kind of show them to you individually. So here's the first one. This is the first of the measuring devices, and I'm just gonna pull it up here. I don't want to spoil it because when he showed it to me, I lost my shit completely. Let me just show it to you. It's this one right here. Yeah, here it is. Boom. And it is pretty rad. So check that out. It's the Laser Rifle. And it's all the dimensions that I asked for. So it's 8 inches long with a 2-inch, 1-inch, and 4-inch side. So it's exactly the same size as the gauge you guys see me using in all the videos right now, except it's a laser rifle, which I think is amazing. And he came up with this totally on his own. This is just Austin kind of knowing me and knowing what I like and designing a widget that would be, basically appropriate for a guy like me. So there's the first one. The second one is right here. Let's just show you. And it's going to be Twimey. The chat's blowing up. They've all seen the laser rifle now. It's funny because there's a delay. So I'm talking to the camera and then looking, and then all of a sudden people are just exploding on what the actual thing is. And here's the other one, and it's called, let's pull it up here. It's the Big Boy. Whoop. And there it is. So the Big Boy is, if you can get what it is, it's a fat man. And it's the 6 by 3 by ½ inch by 1 inch, whatchamacallit, widget. So it's all of the things you would probably want for War Machine. So it has all your basic millimeters for War Machine for the 2-inch side. And it's, it's a fat man. It's a nuclear warhead being launched on a rail system, which I just think is amazing. And then the other one he came up with, which is pretty rad, or the other things he came up with was super rad, and it is this right here, which is a selection of tokens that are basically, here we go, useful in every game. So you can use these for Infinity. You could use these for there's 30 mil, 40 mil, 50 mil. So you use these proxy bases, use them objective markers, use them for whatever you want, whatever game you want. And they're just the GMG NPR joke logo. And they come in all kinds of different colors. So there's all kinds of this stuff. It's, you know, it's really cool because it's the spirit, definitely, of the things that I like. So the Wazer Rifle and the Big Boy in general are probably my two favorite things I've ever seen widget wise. And of course they do come in all kinds of different colors. So the ability to, like, you know, have whatever you want basically in game is going to be useful. So you can see here they come in all kinds of different colors. You can see on the right, you can get the widgets in different colors. You can get everything in different colors. And you want to check them out right now? They're all live and they're in the video description below. So you can go and finally you can buy widgets, GMG widgets, if you want to buy them. And most of the money's going to go to Austin because he's doing all the hard work, and that's the most important thing. But it'll help me out too. So if you guys like him, go check him out. I'm just really happy to give a talented guy hopefully some more stuff to go and do. And then the other things to talk about. So the other big thing to talk about is the manuscript I just turned into Osprey. So this was like crunch time. If you haven't seen me posting a lot of painted miniatures recently, it's because I've just finished handing in my rough manuscript, which is like my it's edited by me, but it's not edited by someone who's an editor. So my editor now has my manuscript for my zombie game. And I'm pretty happy with it. I'm really happy with it. I'm really happy with it. I think it turned out really cool. It's quite different from what you've seen played on the channel. So the 2009 version of Last Days that I did Let's Play for and you've seen played on the channel is a good game, I think, but it's not the game I wanted to write. So this version that I've just submitted is, I think, a much better game and much more in the spirit of what I like now and what I like after the last 3 years of having played close to like 1,200 games of every game under the sun in the last 12 years. The things I've learned basically by playing as many games as I have and different times of games that I have. And so that's exciting because we're going to start to work on that stuff too. But the big laborious part of like pulling all my ideas in separate documents together and getting it all drafted and edited is now finished. And that's one of the big things in year 3 is more work on that, which is pretty cool. What else? So there's that. And then I guess just talking about the channel. And the channel's grown a lot in a year. We have just over 12,000 more people subscribed to it on YouTube. We have like almost 100 more patrons on Patreon, which is fantastic. What else? We've got like 2,000 or 3,000 more people, 3,000 more people, I think, probably following on Facebook and like social media and stuff. So like, it's just really cool. It's really cool. People seem to like watching me play every random miniature game I can get my hands on, and give it a try. And that's been, I guess, really, how do I put it? Really like rewarding for me is that people seem to be responding to miniature gaming as a whole, as opposed to, you know, me being a channel that just focuses on whatever the most popular thing is and tries to play the YouTube game that way or whatever. Just sort of like having this general love of miniature wargaming. So I'm pretty jazzed about that. I think that's pretty rad. Yeah, no, it's been a neat journey. And so we've been to a kind of crazy place over the last 12 months. And there's lots more crazy coming. So other things that are upcoming, the studio lease will be up in September, and I'm deciding right now whether or not we're going to stay or find somewhere else. I'm kind of shopping around for ideas. Talk to the owner of the complex and see if we want to take it over, because ideally I'd like to take it over, but it's a lot more expensive to take over the whole thing than to do the sub. We're going to split into sublet right now, where the warehouse space, the workshop space, is being sublet by someone else. And it basically triples the rent. And for a guy whose kids are living off of X amount of dollars, to triple the rent takes a big slice out of that. So we'll have to figure out how that's going to work. But yeah, no, that's a an option is to stay, and even just to stay and continue to split the rent with the people subletting the other space. So I mean that's another option too, or to find something else. And then the other things are, if we do open up the space, we could take on more co-op members, which could offset that. But of course, I don't know how many people out there would want to be part of the co-op, because it's a fairly niche thing. Like people that were in it and currently are in it are people that are already doing this stuff. So it's gonna be interesting to see where that goes in the next year. But I've got until September to sort of figure it out. But it's like my number one like hit list priority right now is what are we gonna do about that, and how's that gonna affect the co-op going forward. So let's take a look at the chat. So I'm gonna jump into the chat for a minute and we'll answer some questions. I'm gonna have to scroll up because it's like it kind of exploded to the top. I gotta see what's what. And then see if there's any questions I can answer, and then we'll jump into the mailbox and answer some questions there. But let's get started with some questions in the chat. If you guys have any questions about the last year or sort of where everything's been or where it's gone or anything like that, let's talk about that first. That's a fluffy cat. Yes, no, my cat is extremely fluffy. What do we got here? GMG's birthday. Blue Moose has the same birthday apparently as the channel, or close to. Benoit's yelling, "Twimey." Cost efficiency wise, what do you guys advise as models to play Age of Sigmar Skirmish? Chaos Dwarves? I don't know. Find old Chaos Dwarves or convert them out of current contemporary dwarves would be my big suggestion. Marcelo says, congratulations on the second anniversary. Thanks for the content that you provide. Well, thank you, Marcelo, for continuing to be a guy. You've been watching this since before I started doing this, I'm pretty sure. What else we got? Rard McKenzie asks, open screen to the words big boy. Wonder what kind of show we're in for. You never know. What else we got here? What's the best? So Urza001 asks, what's the best way to arrange a game with me? The best way to arrange a game with me is probably by emailing me at guerrillaminiaturegames@gmail.com, because I can keep track of that stuff better. My inbox on Facebook is the other second best way of doing it, but it tends to fill up. And what happens is I can lose track of that one because my phone gets notifications when that inbox gets a message. And if I swipe open my phone just to like look at anything, like answer a call even, it'll sometimes open to the message that's on it. Like if my thumb just hits it, and it'll mark it as red. And I've missed stuff before and like felt really bad because just the way technology works, I can accidentally mark something as red and then miss it and then never answer it and stuff like that, because that happens all the time. When like just you have like a whole pile of notifications on your phone and you're just trying to get it open, and then it pops up to something and you don't really look at it, you just go to the thing you're trying to do, and you lose track. So the nice thing about email is I can always keep track of emails. And what I tend to do is I have a separate folder in my email inbox. As soon as someone asks me about playing a game, I drag it into that, and I can keep all that stuff parsed. It's all in one place. So email's the best way. Second best way is to Facebook message me, and I'll usually tell you to email me, because we end up emailing anyway, because my scheduler for the studio's like scheduler thing is all through Google Calendars. And so I'll grab your email anyway to send you a calendar request, and all the details for like the game and stuff will be in there. So drop me an email. Yep, guerrillaminiaturegames@gmail.com. That's the best way for sure. What else we got? Hey everyone, it's Joe B from Death Ray Designs. Hey man, Joe's here. Yeah, what's up, Joe? You were probably helping out cut those lasers late last night. What else we got? If I were living up there, I'd gladly join the co-op. Zach says, well, then move over to Iowa, man. I don't know. You live in corn country. You said you know people in St. Catharines. So come up here. What else we got? Hi, Ash. You excited for the AOS RPG that's been announced? The original Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay RPG massively helped flesh out the old world setting. Hoping that the AOS does the same. This is Rob Cunningham's question. I didn't even know they were doing it. I heard they were bringing back Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. I didn't know it was going to be set in the Age of Sigmar universe, though. I thought it was going to be set in the old world. So that's news to me. I would be very excited for exactly what you just said. Because my big thing with every fantasy universe, and actually I think the thing that actually tilted the 40k universe and made it as popular as it is now is when they started releasing content that was from the point of view of the average person. The Gaunt's Ghost trilogy and the Eisenhorn trilogy by Gaunt's Ghost trilogy books. There's 1,000 Gaunt's Ghost books, and the Eisenhorn trilogy by Dan Abnett did a bunch to create, I guess, like a lexicon of terms and like everyday information about the Imperium. And I think if they did something like that for an RPG, which you tend to do because in an RPG, you never start off as a hero, I hope. You should start off as like Johnny Everyman. So like that was the thing with the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. You start off as like a rat catcher, you know what I mean? And through circumstance, you would become a hero and develop a lot of mental manias because sanity was a big thing in that game. So you're usually agoraphobic and alcoholic by like the time you were level 10, but that's just that. So yeah, man, I'm super excited. If they do that, I would buy those books just for the background. Like I don't know if I'd be excited to do an RPG, but I'd definitely be excited to do just my research of the world through those books because they tend to be really exhaustive. I think that's fantastic. What else we got? Just pimp Owen out to pay the rent, Jeff Cernick says. Easier said than done, sir. What else we got? Can I tempt you for Pirate Sky Dwarves? You know you want to? Dude, I would do, like, here's the thing. Like, Pirate Sky Dwarves are awesome, but to get, like, 1,500 points of Pirate Sky Dwarves will be, like, $1,000 Canadian. That's like 2/3 of the upcoming rent price. A lot. Twice as much as the current rent. What else we got? Ash running my first Infinity tournament as a Warcore this weekend. Oh my god, Toby became a Warcore. Do's and don'ts. Okay, so my number one thing for being a Warcore and running an Infinity tournament is you have a preamble at the start of the tournament about communication. Because the number one thing that breaks Infinity tournaments, I find, is when guys try and play them without talking to each other. Because Infinity is all about order declaration and being clear on what you want to do and where you want to go. So if as a Warcore, you get in front of that when you're talking to the people in the tournament. I have like almost like a pre-programmed statement I had where I tell everybody, okay guys, make sure that when you are playing the game, talk to your opponent, be really open about what all the stuff on your open information sheet is. Be really open about the consequences of that because good communication is key to a tournament. And be really, really descriptive in your order declaration. Don't just say, this guy's making a short move skill. The book says you have to tell the guy where he's going and what he's trying to do while he's doing it. Before you touch any models, and do all that before you touch any models, make sure you declare your skills back and forth before any models get touched and moved because that's super important. And the second one is, remember, you can check line of sight to any point in the battlefield from any point in the battlefield at any time because that's another thing that's in the rulebook and it prevents arguments. So you get in front of those two things. And the second statement is, if you don't know if someone can see you, ask. If you don't know if this model can see you or not, stick your finger or stick a silhouette on the board and ask your opponent if they can see that place because Infinity tournaments suck when someone really, really like gets butthurt with a gotcha that they didn't see coming. And as a Warcore, once you've said those two things to the whole tournament, if someone comes to you with an argument or a sourpuss, you can ask him those two things. Well, did you ask him if you could see you at that point? And did you clearly declare your order? And if the answer to either of those things is no, then you can just automatically side with the responding guy. You know, like you've basically put it out there that this is the proper way of doing things. Remind everybody how it works in the book. And when you're in a tournament situation, people tend to try and rush because they feel like they're under a clock, they feel like they're on a time limit. I tend to do 2-hour rounds as well in Infinity. Like if you do like 3 rounds, 2 hours, 6 hours total, half hour in between, you have like an 8-hour day, but it's fairly leisurely. And people tend to have a better time because the better you communicate with your opponent in a game of Infinity, just the better game both you guys have. And that's it. There's so much terrain on the table. It's not War Machine. You know what I mean? You're not playing on pictures of terrain and a flat surface. That you have to check lots of things. And so the better you're communicating, the better time you're going to have. What else we got? Margin asks, I'm interested in both Shadow War and Dead Zone 2. Which one do you prefer and why? I honestly like them both, but they're really different animals. Shadow War has like a limited scope because you only really play 10 games and someone ends the campaign. The skill progression and stuff is a bit deeper in Dead Zone 2. The movement is fairly dynamic in Dead Zone 2, and I find that it's a little more intimate because you're only playing on 24-inch boards. You're playing on 1/4 of the table space in Dead Zone than you are in a game of Shadow War where it's 4x4. So like you're gonna have more. It's gonna be more. There's gonna be more personality probably in a Dead Zone game than there's in a game of Shadow War because in Shadow War guys tend to start off as good as they're ever gonna be. In Dead Zone guys can get injured, they can get skills, they can go up and down, back and forth. So If you're looking for a bit more of an intimate game experience, I think that Dead Zone's great. If you're looking for a little more customization, but you're not necessarily playing a light war game, not necessarily a campaign game, then I think the Shadow War is probably for you. And then at the end of the day, it comes down to aesthetics. Like, which ones are you more excited to paint and make terrain for? Because you can always use your your Shadow War terrain in Dead Zone and vice versa. You can go back and forth. So I would just follow your heart and whichever miniatures you like the most. What else we got? We got happy second birthday. What else we got? I've been watching you since the mini wargaming days. CJ Phoenix says, was proud to help fund your first cam. Thanks, man. What else we got? Would love to play you, but the Atlantic is a little too large to cross. This is true. You don't want to try and swim it. Oh, they're doing 2 new RPGs. Okay, that's interesting. So someone just commented, Blue Moose commented, they're doing an old world RPG for Age of Sigmar, and they're doing, an old world RPG and an Age of Sigmar one. Well, that's neat. Prophet 89 asks, what specialist game do you want Forge World to release next? I don't know, man. I'm not excited for them to redo specialist games, to be honest with you, because I think that they're all fine as they are. Like, they don't necessarily need to be redone. So, but I guess the problem is I'm not the best person to ask that, because I've played them all and I have stuff for most of them. So it's different to ask me that question versus asking someone who's never had the opportunity to play them, who's going to be excited they're being released because they're going to get the opportunity to play them for the first time. So what I'm excited about is that people are going to have the chance to play them for the first time, and I'll probably have more opponents to play them with. Personally, I mean, I play games I play Mordheim right now. I play Necromunda right now. So, like, nothing's stopping me from playing those games. And I do know people that play them already. So I guess it's hard for me to have that excitement in my head. I'm usually more excited when GW does something new. To me, that's actually, I got to play 3 games of the new Warhammer Quest this weekend, and I was actually really excited because it wasn't the old Warhammer Quest. It was a new Warhammer Quest, and it didn't feel like the old one at all. There was bits that I thought, there was opportunities to have it feel. There was bits from the old Warhammer Quest that I missed, but for the most part, I was really stoked to play a game with some of my Age of Sigmar minis. And they pulled some new things into the game that were just fantastic. Like, if you ever read fighting fantasy novels, the entirety of Silver Tower is basically a fighting fantasy novel. It's got a whole book of paragraphs that are all randomly numbered that you flip to when something happens in the game. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, I think I remember reading that the guy that redid Silver Tower was an avid Quest fan and clearly read old, early Livingston Jackson Choose Your Own Adventure books, because that's right out of those. And it was fantastically, exciting to have these random events happen and get to flip to and read to the story that was in there. So it did some things just so much better than Quest did, like the original Quest. But then there were still some things that I thought that the original Quest did really well too. And I'm really excited for the new expansion box, although I think I want to play through the old one first, because apparently it's like a mash of both. Like, it does a little bit of both, which is going to be really cool. What else we got? Wasn't he in the military? He has those crazy eyes, man. GMG not up for some sponsorship? Channels like yours sell their minis? No, I know, but it's not really what we do. I should organize an illegal Owen fighting ring. Yeah, man, no, I don't. Sponsorships, the problem with sponsorships is as soon as you get sponsored, there's a bunch of stuff that happens outside your field of vision that I don't want to have happen to GMG. So, for instance, let's say I got sponsored by someone who makes, I'm just going to pick someone out of the air. Like, let's say I got sponsored by someone who makes resin terrain. You know what I mean? And they sponsor me. And every time they sell a kit, they send me some money based on X or Y. Like, there'd be that's usually sponsorships. There's a special link in your video. And if someone buys it through that link, you get a kickback, right? As soon as it's known that I'm sponsored by Company X, Company Y might think, oh, he's not going to feature my product, and then just never contact me. You know what I mean? Never get in touch with me and never think that I would actually like help them out. And so that's why I'm not really, one, I don't think I'm able to do it like based on the way the channel is structured. And 2, I think it would actually be a threat to what I want this to be, which is the indie radio station of miniature wargaming, where anything and everything hopefully eventually gets seen. You know what I mean? Based on the limitations of me just being one man, right? It can't all be done all the time. But being able to be approachable means being open to everybody, and not I think projecting that I play any kind of favorites. You know what I mean? Like, I obviously have, there's companies that I love working with, that love working with me, and we have great relationships, but there's no logo anywhere that says, this is the only company I work with, or I'm sponsored by them, like they're paying me, you know what I mean? And that would make somebody else not be able to approach me. So it's a catch-22. Like, I get that it's another way to monetize what I'm doing, but at the same time, it doesn't, I think it might have an out-of-sight negative impact that I wouldn't be able to control, that might make, especially the smaller a company is, people like less likely to get in touch with me and feel like I'm approachable. And so I would worry about that if I did it. What else we got? Cal Rose asks, hey Ash, how many points of 30k do you have, and what's your favorite Legion? Probably about 5,000, 4,000 points Alpha Legion painted. And I love my Alpha Legion. I mean, I've got favorite stories and like characters in the 30k universe, but not really a particularly favorite Legion. I like them all. Is GW not up for some sponsorship? The thing is, I used to work for GW, right? So them in particular, it's funny. I think people get the wrong impression about why I don't feature lots of Games Workshop games, because I do feature lots of Games Workshop games, actually. Or why I don't feature lots of like mainstream current Games Workshop games, and they assume I don't like them, and I do really like them. But it's funny because you know what, that right there, I think, and I'm going to answer a question you guys haven't asked yet, but is probably going to come up at some point during the chat. Is what do I think about the new edition of 40k? And when are you going to get to see some new 40k on the channel? And actually, somebody asked me that this morning on my Facebook page. And I'm not in any hurry to do it because, like, one, there's more. Games Workshop is doing a fantastic job. There's more information right now about the new 40k coming out of Games Workshop's YouTube page and Facebook pages and stuff and stores than ever has for a new edition launch. Period. More than either was for Age of Sigmar. They're doing a fantastic job of communicating every aspect of the game to the customers. So why do I have to, like, why would I bother? Like, you can find out everything you possibly need to know from the horse's mouth. Like, you're not going to get anything different out of me, you know what I mean? Because anything that I'm doing is speculating. They're telling you everything that there is. And then two, so is everybody else on YouTube. Like there's people out there right now doing battle reports and flip throughs of the book, and like, the whole of YouTube is just like inundated right now with 8th edition 40k. I think all of my recommended videos on the one side are like this or that about 8th edition 40k. It's either people yelling about it, like people like, screaming and yelling about how they think it's stupid, because that's a way to get noticed on YouTube, is be angry about things and hate on things for no reason. And then the other half is just like people sharing information. And so my whole thing was like, wow, I could easily go get my hands on a copy of the rulebook and the game and do a whole bunch of stuff on it. But like, what's the point? Like, everybody's doing it. Like, I'd just be a speck in a sea of specks, or I could, spend the next like 24 hours painting the 10 guys for Rumble Slam, and being like, hey, look, let's play a wrestling game. Like, that nobody's doing, there's literally, I don't think there's anything on YouTube about this. And what am I about? I'm about random, funny, hilarious miniature games. Like, so it's not that I'm in any way down on those games. It's that there doesn't seem to be any point in me doing it. Like, it's being done everywhere else. And people say like, yeah, but we want your take on it. Yeah, we want your opinion on it. My opinion's not any more valid than anyone else. Like, and I play less games than those people. I might know a lot about the universe, but like, I don't care about, dissecting like every intricacy of rulebook. You've got guys that run tournaments and, they're going to tell you what the best army list is in the next 24 hours. Like, they'll have thumbed through every rulebook and found every crazy combination and whatever. Like, that's not me. That's not what I make. Like, when I make something for the new 40k, it's going to be something that you'll see it's me, you know what I mean? Like, when I make it, but I'm not going to rush out to go do it, because like, it would just be like a blip and it would just disappear into the sea of stuff about the new 40k. Whereas if I make something about, Rumble Slam or Shoot and Skedaddle, or, like another Warzone video, or tomorrow you're going to see another Roadkill video, right? About Ultimate Car Combat, because there's more Roadkill stuff coming out, that adds infantry and, new drivers and stuff to the game. There's no one else is doing that. So for me, it's like an investment in my time, my energy. What's the best what's the best return on that for you guys seeing stuff that you can't see anywhere else? It's not 40K. It's not going to be 40K. Oh my god, I missed so much of the chat during that rant. Let me just actually go catch up on it. Where is it here? For the sake of nostalgia, what else we got here? Hey, congrats on the second birthday, Ash. Been watching since Mini Wargaming. When can we expect to see Balder asks, when can we expect to see Mini 40K coverage? It's so funny. It's like the first question I couldn't see in the chat was that question. And now as I keep going through, Matthew White, I was going to ask the same question, Ben. What's your opinion about 8th ed 40K? Ben, I've seen one of the 3 opinions about 8th edition. People either cautiously optimistic for it or think it's spawn of Satan. So business as usual. Editorial content like the Machine Shop, maybe. I don't know. I actually, it's funny, if I did something like the Machine Shop again, Marcelo just asked that question. I'd do something like the Machine Shop. And if you guys don't remember, sorry, I'm now speaking because Marcelo's been watching my stuff since Mini Wargaming. I'm speaking as if all of you understand what I'm saying here when I say the Machine Shop. The Machine Shop was a segment I did on Mini Wargaming where I would talk about sort of like broad topics in wargaming. So, and this is years ago. So a bit like what's Adam Loper, Uncle Adam from Tabletop Minions. The thing he does, where he just sits in front of a camera, does like the classic YouTube like in focus guy, out of focus background, and he basically has a topic and he expounds on it for 6 minutes, 7 minutes. That was what the Machine Shop was. It was usually about 10 minutes long. And I would take a topic in my head, I would write an essay basically about it, and I would sit there and I'd just go through the essay. And I've thought about doing a show like that again. Again, it's time intensive, so like I could sit here while my kids nap and do that, or I could sit here and talk to you guys. I think the talking to you guys is probably a better call. You know what I mean? Because like I enjoy talking to you guys and reading your questions, and I think that that's reciprocated. Like it seems as though that's a good back and forth. So I think that like the thing if I did it that would be like that is I like to do like a podcast. Because podcasts I can do when the kids are in bed. Excuse me, it's still polleny around here, so I'm kind of sniffly. Having a drink. I can do that when the kids are in bed, and I can do it with friends, and I can actually pull people from all over the industry. You know what I mean? Like I can do a podcast where I pick a topic, and I grab a couple of guys I know in the industry, and we sit and we chew on that topic for a couple of days, and then we just record ourselves talking about it. I think that'd be more interesting than just me solo talking like the Machine Shop was. And because I actually work better with people. I mean, everybody does, but like this what we're doing now, where I'm answering questions and I can see the chat and it's all live, is definitely more fun, and I think I probably do a better job of it than I did it at the last one, the original Piece of Ash, where it's just me taking questions from the book, because it's more interactive for me, you know what I mean? So my brain's working better, I think, than if I'm just sitting there kind of like doing it on my own. What else we got? Prophet89 asks, also want to say thanks for the Let's Play series. Anytime I want to run a new game, a friend through a game, I send to your channel. That's funny. So Prophet89 just mentioned that when he wanted someone to learn a game or try a game with him, they'd send me to Let's Play on the channel. That's actually something that a couple of my friends who run gaming stores do. So I have 2 or 3 friends that are still Games Workshop managers. Well, no, I've got more than that, but sorry, locally that like are in the area, as well as, of course, Christian J. Lords or Hobbies. And one of the things that they've done in the past is they have a stack of my business cards. And if they're trying to, if someone wants to learn how to do a game, especially for Christian and J, because they sell so many games, is they would give them a business card and say, hey, you can go watch the game on this YouTube channel. It's a guy we know. He's like a local hobbyist, and you can learn the game by watching this way. And it's been successful for them. So if you're looking to bring people in the game, people like, especially like, I don't want to say millennials, but I must say people that grew up with the internet, definitely respond to learning how to do things from online. And somebody made a joke about that the other day. I was like, do you know how to change a tire? And they were like, no, but I could look it up on YouTube if I had to. And I'm like, what would you do if you didn't have your phone? Right? Like, what if you broke down somewhere with no phone coverage? Shouldn't you learn how to change a tire? And they're like, no. But I guess that's just in their psyche, that anything they need to learn how to do, they can instantly find on YouTube. And I guess that goes for miniature games too, which is just funny. What else we got? I've said a few... Oh my god, the 8th edition talk has just exploded. Looks over to recommended videos and sees 8th edition rulebook flip through. He's not wrong. Yeah, Farstick. Quinn Murphy says, also, it's nice to see all the little overlooked games, especially this is not a test. Thanks, man. Well, I mean, that's the point, right? I want you guys to be able to see stuff you can't see anywhere else. CJ Phoenix says, how shocked are you that at just how open GW's become? Long ago are the days when GW sat in a cupboard and threw out new releases every week. Not really, man. I'm not surprised at all, I'll be honest with you. Every company eventually, and this is actually, I mean, this is I'm part of this as far as Games Workshop goes. Every company has stages in its life cycle, right? So like my stage at Games Workshop is from and this is, if I was to give you an analogy, like when a company first starts, it's a teenager. You know what I mean? It's a kid. It doesn't really know what it's doing. It's trying to figure out who it is. Then it becomes a teenager where it thinks it knows what it's doing, and it parties really hard, and it takes risks, and it's kind of like it thinks it's invincible. And then it starts to get to like its 20s. And I guess my time at Games Workshop is probably from Games Workshop's like late teens to late 20s, where it's realizing it's not a kid anymore, and it can't just, you know, be goofy, and it's trying to take itself seriously and be a business, and you know, it's exploring new ventures and it's sort of like growing into the world, which is really exciting to be a part of. But eventually the people that are from that time with the ideas that they have, they age out. It's like I left Games Workshop. I've been there for 13 years. And my version of Games Workshop that I worked for, there was like 2 or 3 different versions of it. You know what I mean? Because companies change as they get older. And I loved all of them, you know, like I was super happy all the time that I was there and love the company still. But afterwards, you know, the company's going to keep changing. And so I think what happens is as people leave, their preconceptions leave with them. And there's young people now running Games Workshop. You know, the people that are working there aren't the people that built the place in 1979, 1980. That generation's been gone for a long time. And now the generation that came through the 80s and 90s is gone. And it's a younger, hipper generation. They understand the internet. They understand their customers and who they're talking to. And so honestly, I'm not surprised, because I think that there's actually a learning point there for lots of other companies, that you have to accept change. You know what I mean? You have to accept that the people that are coming into your business over time bring something more than just their skills and their qualifications. They bring experience that you don't have from outside your business, you know, and so I think that that's what you're seeing right now with Games Workshop. Is if you look at the guys in the Warhammer TV studio, they're all in their mid to late 20s, you know, like they're not pushing 40 like I am. I might be on YouTube, but those guys have grown up with the internet. They're a millennial generation that has more in common with the customers than I do, right? Like, and I think that's why people are always like, oh, you know, someday you'll be a great big YouTube channel. I'll never be a great big YouTube channel. I'll be my viewers are going to get grayer and grayer over time, because they're guys and gals who have things in common with me. We have a mutually shared experience in wargaming, probably, for like, let's say like a 2/3 chunk, like a big chunk. And then there's going to be people that enter that and experience that, and that'll make up the rest of the people that are viewers for me. But I think it's fantastic what Games Workshop's doing, because it's accepting, you know what I mean? Like let's dip our toes in that world of digital communication and digital culture and having a digital studio and being open and giving people information and see what happens. And lo and behold, you know, the vast majority of young people that are on that platform responded really well. I think that's great, you know, like and I think the Games Workshop understands that too. So I'm not surprised, and I think you'll see more of it. What else we got? Ben Ozick says, people who think 8th edition is a broken, unbalanced mess didn't realize that 40k has always been a broken, unbalanced mess. I think, Ben, that's just war games. Like, war games are broken. The illusion of balance in war games is an illusion. Every war game is inherently unbalanced because you have different pieces from your opponent. Unless all your pieces do the exact same thing as your opponent and you have the same amount of them, and then you're playing chess, you know, every game is inherently unbalanced. It's not possible to create a balanced thing. Balance in a war game is a social contract where 2 people agree that they have an equal chance of both attaining victory. But that doesn't have to be true. They just have to agree to it in their heads and both believe it to have a fair and enjoyable experience. And that's really it. It has nothing to do with whether or not it's actually balanced. And there's always the argument in chess too, like who has the advantage, the person that moves first or not. And that argument's been going on for thousands of years. So who knows? What else we got here? Quinn Murphy says they're also starting to listen to their player base now. I think they've always listened to their player base. The difference is whether or not they could do something about it. You have to understand it. Games Workshop isn't a person. Games Workshop is thousands of people. I mean, there's almost 1,000 people in Nottingham working for Games Workshop. And more than that, like two or three times that worldwide. And of those people, I'm sure most of them who are front-facing with the customers listen to their customers. Because why wouldn't they? They're right there with them. You know what I mean? The difference is whether or not you have the ability to make change. And what happens over time, the people who've been in the business, who are front-facing with customers, who've listened to them and understand them and are with them, eventually move into positions where they can make changes and things happen, right? So it's just the way things grow. Nothing grows overnight, although the internet sometimes expects them to. Rumble Slam Henchilada is the best name ever. Toby, you're not wrong. Although, was it Ronnie Salvage, the dwarf, might be my favorite. DRD Adam is Death Designs Adam is trying to get me to get into Bushido. Thanks for your vids covering it. I love seeing all the coverage in the alt games. Thanks, John. Well, Joe. I mean, I feel like Joe just stocks all of the new games that I play on GMG to then message me and ask me about them. Simon Wilson asks, I was just looking at it, it went away. Have anyone around you shown interest in Roguestar since you played that? I find it cool, but you need people to play with, of course. Yeah, man, well, I played a bunch of Roguestars games. I played with, we played with Owen. I played with Victor, and I played with, who else? Chris Salmon. I played at least 3 people in Roguestars. Right now, Mike from Epitech Studios is painting up some ducks, some space ducks, to do some Roguestars. So you'll see it again. I mean, it's just a matter of time, right? Like, especially with like the bookshelf games from Osprey, you're never gonna. I don't think, except for Frostgrave, because it was such a runaway and it was so well supported with expansions. You'll never see us play something forever. You know what I mean? We'll paint a handful of cool models and we'll play a few stories with it. And we'll come back to it when someone's excited about it again too. So I think that's it. There'll never be like a 300 game series of, you know, X or Y indie game typically. But the more popular ones, like This Is Not a Test and Frostgrave, get more videos just because people are excited to come in and play. And that's really it. Ian Papoyan asks, love your channel. I'm creating a sci-fi skirmish game. Do you support, or is there a chance to test out games with independent developers such as myself? So for Ian, I can't play test games. And I don't say that isn't like I'm like unable to personally. I don't have the skill set. I do have the skill set. I have zero free time. Excuse me. For the same reason that I would never be able to do widgets myself. Like, you know, we just talked about the widgets from Death Ray. I would be useless as a playtester. Like, and it's funny because I've been invited to playtest some really cool games recently. I had an invitation to playtest the new Fallout game, and I was just like, oh, that'd be really cool. But like, it would literally just turn into me getting to see stuff early and not actually doing anything to help. And if there's only so much room in a playtest, I'm just gonna make sure that room goes to someone that actually has the time to do it. So I say no typically. Actually, I say no every time because I would be useless and I would feel bad that I was taking up the spot of someone that could be actually useful to making a game better. Because the only thing I would get out of, or that you would get out of me seeing or being a playtester for you, is I would see stuff early, and that's a me benefit, not a you benefit, really. And like, if I even had time to look at it, you know, like, so yeah, unfortunately, no. Matthew White, I agree with you about the amount of 8th edition coverage, but I think you're underestimating how much weight your opinion has in mini wargaming circles. Okay, so yes, it has weight, but like, it doesn't have more weight. It's not going to influence whether that game's successful or not. So it might influence for you guys what you think about it, but the difference to me is putting forward an indie game, you know what I mean, that nobody's heard of, and having people now have heard of it, has more benefit to that little tiny company. Put it this way: if I did a whole series on 8th edition 40K, and it accounted for, let's say, like a $300,000 increase in sales, so $300,000, right? Like that's a third of $1,000,000. That would be an insignificant sales increase for them. That's like one retail store out of almost 1,000. Like, no, sorry, it's 500 or 600 now or something like that. I actually don't even know how many there are. I know how many there used to be. You know, like if you look at their annual reports, like look at their turnover in retail. Like that's a tiny blip. That's a percentage off on the ledgers. Whereas if I increase sales of an indie game by $3,000, that could be like a 2,000% increase in sales. You know what I mean? For a guy, it's just him in his basement, and he's ordered some models up, and that's the difference between him getting to do an expansion and keep his game going or not. So like, and that's just me pulling numbers of the air, right? Like, but the fact is that like if I'm going to spend time on something, if I can help somebody, any talk that I do to help out Games Workshop, they don't need. Like everyone's doing it for them already. It's more like and I'm not going to buy them any more cred than people that play it all the time. Like because everyone knows I don't play it all the time, right? Like everyone knows I'm playing other games all the time. Whereas if I can do that for someone who's just like a guy in a basement making a miniature game, and that leads to like a few $1,000 in sales, to me that's more what this channel should be about. So like if I'm budgeting my time, which I am constantly, that's how I'm gonna budget it. And that doesn't mean I'm not gonna play Edition 40K. I'm totally going to. Like I've already got my army pound out. Like I'm excited to paint the new Ginormo Marines, and I think they look totally boss. I don't know why everyone's hating on the Captain. The Captain looks awesome, but I'm just not doing anything. Like I'm not gonna rush out and try and get it done early. Like. Why? It has weight, but I already think it's cool, and I told you guys I think it's cool. It's nothing else. I don't know anything else. There's nothing else to know about it, I don't think. Like, there's not some secret that hasn't already been unveiled and like flipping through the books. And the other thing is, okay, you know what? There's one more thing with the 8th edition thing. It's that I get exhausted by how much people are losing their minds about it. Because the game's not going to be different. Like, somebody actually asked me about it the other day, and I felt a little bit bad, but they were like, what do you think about the new 8th edition 40K? And I was like, I reckon it's going to have Space Marines in it. Because, like, it's not new. Like, there's nothing new about it. It's just, you put Space Marines and bad guys on the table, you move them around in inches, you roll 6-sided dice to remove each other. Like, you can change the way that happens slightly. Like, you can change down the universal resolution table for the hit and the wound rolls. But that's not any different from any other edition of 40K I've played. It's just the way that it's presented is slightly different. And this will be the 8th edition of 40K I've played, where it's just a slightly different way of moving your models around. Like, it's not a new game. And people seem to think it's a new game because I guess to them it is. And so I guess the reason I kind of get exhausted by it is I guess I can't understand. I've been around for too long, and I've been through too many editions of 40K to think it's that different. You know what I mean? It's going to be the same game. There's going to be rules for making your army. There's going to follow a chart or some percentages. There's going to be points or not points in this case, but some other kind of points. There's like a loose and tight point system. And you're going to play missions, and you're going to push your models around the table on a 6x4 board or a 4x4 board. And that's no different from what I was doing 30 years ago. So, like, I guess to me, I play so many miniature games, and that helps me understand what a different miniature game looks like. So when something like Age of Sigmar comes around, where it is a legitimately different game, it's structured wholly differently from like what Warhammer Fantasy Battle was. It piques my interest, like when War of the Ring came out for Lord of the Rings, that piqued my interest, and I love that game because it was something new. It was something it was a different game. And I guess to me that's more my struggle inside is I don't get the hype. I mean, I get the hype. You want to sell models, like that's the reason for having the hype, and that's where the hype's coming from. It's coming from people talking about it. But like you see these videos, the title is like Revelation, or like these little blog posts on like the news sites that are like total meta shift, and it's like it's these huge like hyperbolic statements where I'm just like it's just 40K. It's just more of the same 40K. Like, it's going to be Space Marines and Eldar and Orcs and stuff. I'm like, yeah, they tore up the galaxy a little bit, but it's just 40K. Like, it doesn't change anything. Nothing's really changed that much. So, I don't know, man. I think that just, it wears me out a little bit. And I think it just kind of, it illustrates to me how, the mainstream folks who are just kind of playing, the guys play one game. The mainstream folks who they've learned about the hobby from the biggest fish. They play that game. They're really excited about that game. They probably have never considered playing other games. How kind of in a bottle they are about what change is or what different looks like. You know what I mean? And I'm kind of just saying on that side being like, cool, another edition of 40K. Yeah, Space Marines are awesome. Models are cool. Like, the biggest difference to me is the models, like not the game. So we've all seen the models. I can't show you any new models because they're already out there, What else we got? Ollie Brown says, I love the machine shop. Well, so did I. It was fun. Vain Heartless 473 says, do you still have time to hike, or are you just focusing on family and the co-op? I have been hiking this week with my kids. It was great. I took them to, there's a nature conservatory with a bunch of big waterfalls. And I took my 3-year-old and my 2-year-old on their first like loop trail. And they loved it. They thought it was awesome. And it's all, I'll be honest, hiking with kids, and I was kind of prepared for this because I'd been reading up on it, is all about making it a story and an adventure. So for us it was, and this is going to sound so stupid, for us it was all about wearing adventure pants. And that meant my daughter wearing shorts she'd never worn before, which was cargo shorts that had pockets on them. And we had to go and find treasures in our adventure pants. And so we're all wearing cargo shorts. And the point was that we would go and walk up the trail and find things like flowers and snail shells and rocks and black walnuts, which have been like cracked open and eaten because they have hearts. It's a heart, a black walnut. If you ever see it cracked open, like the inside of it, when they eat the nut out of it, looks like a heart. And so it was my 2-year-old, my 3-year-old walking down the trails, and they did some pretty good inclines and declines. I actually got a new watch band for my Sunto, so I can actually check elevations and stuff now. And they probably did like a good 1,000 feet of vertical walking over the course of like an hour and a half, because they hiked about 4 kilometers. And they were champions, man. They did a great job. We had like a picnic afterwards because there's a big conservatory area with like a rec hall. You can buy ice cream and stuff. So I like packed a blanket and packed like all their water jugs and stuff, and took them hiking. And it was great. I haven't been out on a serious like backpack in a while. And it's funny because Jay from Lords of War, who's one of my hiking partners, him and his wife have been bugging me about it, and he's like itching to go right now. I can tell because he was commenting on like every one of the photos I put up with my kids and I hiking. But just last week I got them on a trail for the first time, and it was like. It was amazing for them, like their minds were blown, but it was so great for me. Like I was just so happy to like get dirt on my boots and watch them get dirt on their boots and then just like have a picnic. And the best part was, man, they slept like the dead. Like that night, they were 7:45 rolled around and I got them ready for bed and they were just like out by 8 o'clock, like completely silent. Didn't wake up again until like 7 o'clock in the morning. It was fantastic. What else we got? Any chance of you having covered a Firestorm Armada 3.0 on release? I have a bunch of Armada stuff I haven't painted. It's all first edition stuff. Are they doing new models? If they're doing new models, I'll check it out for sure. We love spaceship games. We still haven't gotten a drop fleet, mostly just because of time. Like, it's all time. The great thing about spaceship games, though, is if we do try them out, they tend to paint up really fast, and Owen loves spaceship games, so... The recent drop fleet, I think we flipped through it at Lords of War, and it looked a lot like Gothic. And so we, as soon as it looked like something we'd played before, we kind of just went, we didn't not want to play it, but it just got lower on like the hey, let's try a new thing list. Does that make sense? But I mean, I'm totally into trying spaceship games. I love spaceship games in general. Matthew White's also, you're absolutely doing the yeoman's job of spreading the word about all kinds of different games. I meet so many different people who've heard about X or Y game from your channel. That's awesome. That's rad. Actually, I had a cool experience at Cool Mini Expo this year, where people would come up to say hi, and they would say hi, and the reason they would say hi was, a couple of them it was, I'm here because I learned about Dark Age from your channel, and I didn't know anything about it. And the other ones were just to say hi and be like, yeah, like I love this miniature game that no one plays, and I get to watch it on your channel. And I was like, that was really like, oh. And then I get to meet some guys who were patrons too, which was just like blew my mind. That they were also patrons and that they were jazzed about that too. So that made me feel really good. What else we got? Would I do a Let's Play on Drop Zone Commander? I mean, sure. It all comes out of time, right? Like it's all really just a matter of how often can I do it. Ben Ossick says, "Hail Millennial, I know to change a tire." Then you're my favorite Millennial, buddy. Yeah, good for you. And tons of people who are Millennials do. Every time I say people grow up the internet, and that's a generalization. Everything's a generalization. When I mention like they need to look up how to do things on their phones. I'm not quite Carter Pewterschmidt yet, where I'm like, would you like $5? Reach into this jar full of barbar and salt. It'll amuse me. Like, I haven't quite gotten there yet, although I'm on my way. Yeah, I'm on my way. It's gonna happen. That's my plan. Carter Pewterschmidt by like age 40. What else we got? I can say I even YouTube how to Stefan Hansen. I can say I even YouTube how to tie a tie sometimes. You're not the only one. I've heard that a million times, actually, from people. Grumbleback. I grew up with BBSs in my teen years. 2-line dial-up for the win. 2-line dial-up. Yeah, man, I remember that 2-line dial-up where if you had the 2-line dial-up, you could use the phone and be on your modem at the same time, and that was living rich. Man, you were in the high living right there. Sam says, "Hey man, happy anniversary related to GW 8th edition. Do you enjoy Warhammer Fantasy 9th ed before more or Sigmar? How do you think you'll end up liking the new 8th format or the old 40k?" I'll be honest. Well, it's cool. I think what's going to be interesting is going forward with the new 40k stuff is I'm going to keep playing both. It's going to be interesting because it's going to be a little bit like when I kept filming 8th edition Fantasy and started playing Warhammer 40k or Warhammer Age of Sigmar, because there's a lot of overlap in the time where I'm playing both and I'm able to compare them in my head. And they're such different games that like there wasn't even a comparison at that point, because one was a mass combat rank and flank game and one was a skirmish game. Really, I mean, Age of Sigmar skirmish game. But with the new edition of 40k, there's that new rulebook coming for Horus Heresy, so I will still be playing 7th edition 40k. I don't know if it's a great comparison, though, because Horus Heresy is so different from current 7th edition 40k, because it's not driven by formations, it's not driven by wombo combos, or a Maelstrom War deck. Because those three things really are, I think, what made the current 40k this like crazy sort of morass that it is now, and made it kind of inaccessible. And impenetrable is like you have these huge amount of formations you don't pay any points for that all give you these interlocking abilities, that had all these unforeseen consequences and led to these wombo combos, that like they're all spread between 1,000 books. Like they're all over the place, right? So like if you're me and you're trying to just like write an army list, you know what half these things mean, and people come in with them and you're just like, okay, I'm sure I trust you, whatever, like let's do it. Whereas in Horus Heresy, it's all pretty black and white what things can do, because everyone's pulling mostly from the same army list, which is the Marine Crusade list, with variations for all the legions, and a couple little subcodexes that aren't even really complete army lists. You know what I mean? Like the Mechanicum and the Knights lists. I mean, they're complete, but they're not as vast as the Space Marine Legion lists are. So I don't know if it's going to be if it's going to be the same kind of comparison, but it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm still play whatever. What else we got here? Urza001 says, Ash sold me on This Is Not a Test, so much so that I bought the rules and all the PDFs in one night, to the point where I now have a tackle box filled with stuff for it. Yeah, it's funny. We made a joke about that recently in the cup, because I was cleaning up a whole bunch, because like we have so much stuff. Oh my god. We need more room so badly. But I was consolidating stuff for a couple of games that used to share a case. So like This Is Not a Test and Frostgrave were actually sharing a case for a while, and they got their own 2 carrying cases. And so what I did was I was putting stuff in, and I realized that I had no spaces left for the case with the Frostgrave stuff in it. And it was one of the 108 slot old GW hardshell cases. And I was like, I painted 108 miniatures for Frostgrave? What? It's a game where you play with like 10 miniatures. And I just thought back, and I was like, over the last year and a half, 2 years when it came out, I'd painted monsters for every scenario. I'd painted stuff to like fill out the bestiary. And it's amazing how it creeps up on you. And I'm about half full of a case for This Is Not a Test, because I've got like scenario pieces and 2 or 3 4 warbands and wasteland critters and like just crazy amounts of stuff. So, they say warband games are light skirmish games, but eventually, to tell the stories you want to tell, you tend to paint whole armies with the models. What else we got? Yeah, I love the idea of Frostgrave, but no one in my local store will play. Well, here's the thing, man. Like, being bound to playing at your store, I think, to playing strangers is always a challenge. I think what happens is you gotta start trying to play at home and play with friends. Like, nice thing is Frostgrave's a nice packable game. You don't have to have a lot of stuff for a big area to play it. And so, if you can teach someone to play, even if they're not a wargamer, it would be a great game to have people have as their first war game, because it's nice and easy to learn. It's got some story-driven elements. It's very cinematic, and yeah, recruit your own players. That's always been my motto. Is if you don't know how to play miniature games locally, teach somebody. And it might sound like a lot of work, but as soon as you've got a couple buddies that you can play games with at home, you know what I mean, on a Friday night, like twice a month, man, your hobby experience gets like leveled up real super quick. D6 Damager says, if you aren't hyped for 8th edition, what game are you currently hyped for? I'm not hyped. Like, that's the thing. I'm not excited. Like, I'm never hyped about any game. I kind of travel from game to game. You know what I mean? I'm always hyped with the thing I'm currently painting, I guess. So if I have a project, I guess the thing that my attention's on tends to be the thing I'm excited about. So like right now, I'm super stoked for Rumble Slam. One, because it just looks like great, goofy fun. And before I film it, I've got the orcs painted for it right now, the Green Pounders, or I'm calling them Team Oracle, because it's going to be Kurt Oracle. And then I'm painting... they're going to be based on the Fabulous Freebirds, which is a wrestling team you guys might or might not remember. But it's going to be the Rapacious Raptors. And they're going to be the humans that I'm painting right now. And it's just 5 more models, and I'm ready to play. So I got a million dosh of wrestlers ready to rock and roll between 2 different casinos. But I really want to make ropes and turnbuckles because it comes with an awesome neoprene mat, like a full neoprene like gaming mat. But I just I want to make like physical turnbuckles because I think that would just finish the Let's Play. So I need to find some blue wire, some coated blue wire, and then make some like standy pins to just pin it into, and it's just going to sit on top of the neoprene mat. But like that's got to be a thing that happens. But I'm gonna try it this week. I'll try and convince Owen to play with me, which shouldn't be too hard because I can usually convince Owen to play anything, especially if it's stupid. And we'll give it a go. What else we got? 8th edition checkers is broken. Red is way OP. I've heard that. Amando Pantino asks, I want more Wotan. Man, you're getting Wotan every week for 8 weeks. There's nothing else happening on Fridays except for Infinity. Infinity's been one of my all-time favorite games. It was one of the first games I ever recorded for this channel. It's one of the biggest playlists on this channel, and I got a deep and enduring bromance with Corvus Belli. So we're just doing the whole worldwide campaign all summer long. So between now and the end of July, every Friday, you get another Wotan game. So we're going to enter the Wotan, the 36 Chambers of Death. Yu Cheng's going to be Ascendant every game. We might be behind now, but I don't care. We're going to play every game. We've got 5 games recorded already. So of the 8 games to record, I've only got 3 left. Owen and I are doing the Nomad missions soon, and they're dropping new missions packs on us later on, which will be good because that means the last couple missions that you guys see will be the new mission packs that unlock basically as the campaign progresses. So we're in great shape for Infinity, and you guys are going to watch a lot of Infinity over the summer. And I've actually already recorded more Malifaux too, so it's not like I'm not doing anything else on Fridays. But that stuff's already scheduled for August. Like, it's there. There's 2 Malifaux games I just filmed with the Forbes Hobby guys that are rad because they're actually they're weird organized play format multiplayer games. So we did a henchman brawl, what's it called? Not henchman brawl, a enforcer brawl, which is a multiplayer. It's kind of like, do you remember Marvel vs. Capcom where you have different characters and you like tag them in to go fight each other? It's kind of like that, which is rad. And then we're also doing we just finished recording a tag team battle, which was for team games in Malifaux 2, which was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun playing that. And both those are filmed and in the can. So there's 2 games of Malifaux already scheduled for August, which would be great. Ben Osick asks, every new game I see on your channel, I just want to go, it makes me go, cool, what a great game. I'll never play because nobody around me has time for anything but War Machine. Well, dude, you gotta be the change you want to see. Like, I don't know what to tell people that feel like they're stuck in that rut, you know what I mean? Where like there's a game that dominates their local meta and it's all people want to play. Just gotta break out of that, I guess. You know what I mean? And teach people how to play. All it takes is one other person and you to go play a game and have a good time. And as soon as people see people having a good time, they tend to get attracted to go and try it. And what else we got? Melo says, hey Ash, do you think that the skirmish for AOS is going to get expanded on? I have no idea. They've talked about doing Necromunda at Warhammerfest outside of Shadow War. The Shadow War was just like a separate thing being done by the main studio, and was not the Forge World's incarnation of Necromunda. So, but the train is now done. So it was like a freebie. Like the main studio went out and made all the train they can now play Necromunda with. So that Forge was just like, well, we can do Necromunda again. So AOS Skirmish is another main studio game, right? It's a mod for that. So it's not. It's the skirmish book from the 1990s. Like it's not the early 2000s. It's supposed to be this. And it's funny because recently someone was telling me that it would never compare to Mordheim, and it wouldn't be Mordheim and stuff. And I honestly think people are confused that like sort of by what it is supposed to be, because it's not supposed to be Mordheim. It's supposed to be, hang on one second. it's supposed to be a follow-up to the Warhammer Skirmish 7th edition, or maybe even 6th edition update. And that was this thing right here, which was a book that was basically, I think it was actually bundled in with White Dwarf ages and ages ago. And it wasn't an expansion, I don't think. I think you could buy it separately, but I think it came as a free White Dwarf add-on. And it was this book right here, which is the Warhammer Skirmish supplement. And it was made in the U.S. studio, I'm pretty sure. So it was actually made, I'm going to get this wrong, but I think Dave Taylor worked on it, and I'm pretty sure this is my buddy John Schaefer. I think they both worked in that area at that time. And maybe even Nicole Lewandowski. So these are all people I know from working at Workshop. And it was a really neat little add-on for playing skirmish games of Warhammer. So it was not necessarily a campaign game with like tons of experience and stuff. And then there was another version of it, which came out, which was done by the team at Warhammer World. And it was called, what was it called? It was called Regiments of Renown. That's right. And it was run as an event. And that event was done, I think, by actually the team from, from Warhammer World as like a sort of, there it is, as a campaign day. And it was this thing. Let me just pull it up for you guys so you can see it too. It was a supplement for doing pretty much the same thing, like as the Skirmish does now, which is taking the odd miniature from Warhammer and making it a sort of like instead of everything fighting in big blocks, everything fought as like dudes on the ground. And it should be this thing right here, so I can show you guys the picture. And it was a free PDF that was available from the Warhammer World website. And it's this thing right here. So Classic Regiments of Renown. And I'm pretty sure you can still get it as a PDF off their site. Let me just see if I can pull it up again. And make it big so you guys can actually see it. And you can probably find it on the web just by Googling Warhammer Regiments of Renown. And it was cool because it was a little bit more like they crossed skirmish with what's it called? With the 40k kill teams. So you had like weapon packs that guys could buy, and the weapon packs would give them like different rules and additional things to like add onto it and stuff like that. And that would give you like an ability to have like sort of characters, and then those characters would get like magic items or different bonuses to playing the game. So if you had like the Mad Dog or whatever, you'd have like 2 weapons in the Frenzy rule. I think 3 of your guys could be specialists, and your captain could get some bonuses, I think, as the game went on and stuff too. So yeah, the new Age of Sigmar Skirmish is basically that. It's those 2 packs. It's the new edition of that for Age of Sigmar, and it plays a lot like that. So it's a way of playing smaller Age of Sigmar games, not a campaign supplement or a campaign game in and of itself like Mordheim was. I think the plan is to just keep doing like those specialist games over time. So there will be a Mordheim game eventually that's more like that. Sam, observation, true or false? I've observed that more fun has happened with the small 40k skirmish band games than the big epic stacked 40 games that you have done before, not only here but with mini wargaming. More fun has happened. I'm not really sure what you mean by that. Like, does it mean that like I enjoy them more? That's probably true, because I find that what happens in playing large games of 40k is you lose the heroic moments. Like, they still happen sometimes where like that one sergeant with the power fist is like fighting a dreadnought or something like that, you know what I mean? And the dreadnought just misses with all of his attacks, and the sergeant just uppercuts him and like kills him. So it can still happen, but I find with skirmish games, because everyone's a hero, you have these amazing sort of last stands or Alamo moments or heroic interventions or whatever, almost by design in the game. You know what I mean? So these memorable moments happen, and they kick in because there's less stuff on the table, so you're more focused on it. It's one of the things I like the most about little games like Relic Blade. So I love Sean's game Relic Blade. It happens on a 24-inch board, and you only have like 4 or 5 pieces each. But because of that, it's a small, and Bushido too, actually. Because it's a small game with a small number of models, you're really dialed in on it, and those memorable moments pop out at you. You know what I mean? Like when something really cool happens, where somebody like defends or fights or whatever, you can see the fighting, you can hear the swords clashing in your head, because you're lasered in on the action. You're sort of like you're focused on one little scene happening. And so, yeah, I think you probably, that communicates over the camera, because when I'm having a good time, I'm sure you guys can tell. Like when something cool happens, I know you guys, it translates in the camera. And I think that is one of my touchdowns. I think I said this last year in the birthday video, is that one of my mottos, something that seems to have worked out for me, is that I follow my heart. You know what I mean? And I follow what I'm excited about and I enjoy. And by doing so, it translates into the camera, right? If I'm having a good time and the person I'm filming is having a good time, you guys can tell, and it just is a better video. You know what I mean? So as opposed to just trying to grind out videos for the same game that might be the most popular game currently out there all the time, when people try and do that, I think you can tell. I think you can, when you, and I say you can tell, I mean you guys out there, the people who are viewers, that comes across, that translates into what's being made. So one of my personal sort of like I guess guiding stars is I focus on what I like, and I focus on what I'm excited about. And I guess hype isn't the right word, but like I focus on something where I'm looking forward to playing it. You know what I mean? If the prep work has me excited, we're gonna have a great time playing it. No matter what happens, if we mess it up or if we do it wrong, like we're still gonna enjoy it. And you're gonna get that in the camera. Like it's gonna come across, and it just makes a better video, because it's way more fun to watch two people having a good time. And I think that's why you guys really enjoy it. You guys have favorites, and I know that. Who are people that come in and play with me that you guys really enjoy watching. So like I know Jay is one of them. My buddy Clarence is one of them. Like you've got people out there that you guys have who are like fan favorites, because you can tell that those guys and I have been friends for a long time. And when we goof around on camera and stuff happens, it's more fun for you guys to watch. And so I think that's a powerful thing for me, and I try and harness it. So I think you're right. And when it comes down to 40K, when I get to dial into the action, because that's what I like personally, you're going to see me having more fun doing it than if I'm playing a big game where all the details getting lost in sort of like the action. Rob Cunningham says, yeah, I'm currently resisting spending money on either Dark Age or Wrath of Kings, but I may have to do the Ash thing and just paint 2 armies. Yeah, man, it's way easier. Well, Dark Age, you've got that in the shade now, because you can grab the 2-player starter, and the same with Wrath of Kings. So like, if you grab the starters for either of those games, they're great value, and you've got 2 armies. The Dark Age one in particular, they're 2 really viable armies, but the single-player starters for Wrath of Kings are fantastic value too, and you can just grab 2 of those and have full games, like ready to rock and roll. James Tilly, this Rumble Slam thing is sounding like the most amazing game ever. Just Google Rumble Slam's like online store, Tilly. Tilly's a friend of mine from Halifax. And go through all of the superstars, because you'll lose your mind. Like, also, I'm sorry to your wife. I'm sorry that's happening, and your baby's gonna be hungry. Irikanu says, and we love watching you play Infinity. I've gotten better at the game by watching you. God, I hope that's not true. We do okay. We just try and play a clean game, which is almost impossible in Infinity because there's so many interactions. Audrey Keith says, I'm super stoked for your Rumble Slam Let's Play. I looked the game up last when you mentioned it. It was just used to buy those models. Yeah, no, it's great. It's funny because I actually haven't. My wife has watched more wrestling stuff lately than I have, based purely on the fact that she watches that WWE Divas show. I probably haven't watched like a Monday Night Raw or a is it Thursday Night SmackDown or Friday? It used to be Thursday Night SmackDown. I don't even know if it's SmackDown or Raw anymore. But that would be my era, right? So like early to mid 2000s and the 90s was like my era of like watching wrestling, which of course coincided with me being like in my teens to 20s. And so like that's my favorite stable of like wrestlers, and what's great about that is the stuff in Rumble Slam tends to emulate that. The 80s and 90s wrestlers mostly, but like still emulates that. And so it's been a lot of fun. What else we got? A Shadowrun miniature game would be cool. I think they've done one. I'm pretty sure there's one in the works right now. Marcel M. Despot, is there any story type or models you would want to play, haven't seen yet? For example, I would like to play a skirmish game based on Vampire the Masquerade. It'd be hard to play a skirmish game based on Vampire the Masquerade because it would just be people standing around a bar talking for the most part. Because my memories of people playing Vampire, because I never played it myself. I own some of the books, again, because I like the art. and because I read some of the comics, weirdly, because there was a comics, and I played the card game actually, which was called, the original one was called Jihad, and they canceled it, and they called it something else afterwards. But I have a whole like wicked huge box of first edition Jihad cards somewhere. Yeah, my memory of watching people play Vampire was them all standing in a coffee shop, just like passing notes to each other, then people leaving the room and coming back. So I was like, and when you said make a miniature game of it, I'd be like, I guess. But then I guess what would really be like would be like the Underworld movies, which are loosely based on some of the vampire stuff. What else we got? CJ Phoenix says, just over a year ago, my local meta was all 40k in bolt action. A few intro games later by myself and a friend and I are now growing AOS, Blood Bowl, and BFG. Yeah, man, it's all just play games and have fun. People get attracted to people playing games and having fun, and if you just play games in front of people, they will come along and do it. What else we got? I love the uncut games between Ash and Owen. So much trash talk. It's ace, yeah. Because every now and again we will do that. It's usually when we're playing something silly on his channel, like we're playing like War Machine with like a top-down camera. You get to see us like uncut, and you get to hear the actual like in between camera shots like crap talk, which is pretty hardcore. Would you ever play a game live with Owen? It'd be nice to be able to shit post both of you at once, Quinn Murphy says. The big barrier to that is we don't have an internet connection we do have an internet connection at the studio, but it's a hot card. It's a travel card. It's usually to network my printers and stuff. We don't have a hardline one because again, that'd be another. Internet connections in Canada are stupidly expensive for unlimited internet, which we need for doing streaming and stuff. So that's another $100 a month pretty much that we'd have to pay to have internet at the studio, and we don't have the money for that. So I've got the unlimited high speed here at home, I'm streaming from home. But that would be like another, if we grew the studio in some way, if revenue streams can keep getting developed for the channel and we can continue to make this something viable, then that's something we could have and could do. But right now it's just not in the cards because we don't have a full like unlimited high speed internet connection at the studio. What else we got? So NWO or Degeneration X, Rob coming in and asks. No, man. Those are, NWO is okay. DX is okay. Neither of those are like my favorites. It's honestly, one of my all-time favorite wrestlers, and this is going to sound stupid, is Kurt Angle. I love Kurt Angle. He's an Olympic wrestler that went to WWE, and like, he was fantastic. He was that perfect mix of like, face and heel and dumb and smart and he was just a tremendous wrestler, like just physically, like he was a tremendous wrestler. So like Team Angle's one of my favorite teams of all time. Who else? The Freebirds, the Fabulous Freebirds, who like they invented teams, they invented team wrestling, so like you can't not talk about them. NW and DX are like, they're famous teams, you know what I mean, but that doesn't make them good teams. Like Edge and Christian were a fantastic team, Hardy Boys were a fantastic team just because they're technically good. Oh, the Hardy Boys were sad at the end, man, like where especially Jeff was so injured, like he couldn't do rope runs anymore. He'd mess up tons of moves because like he was wrestling like badly injured all the time. So those teams were some of my favorite teams. Dudley Boys, like back when like the old like underground circuit and that stuff like that, like some of the Dudley Boys stuff is just crazy. Like those are the teams that I like. The big mainstream teams I was never like a big fan of. What else? Cesar Perez says, I've been watching wrestling since the 80s, never gave up, don't plan on stopping. It's funny because it's not like I wouldn't watch it if it was on. It's like when you have two little kids, your TV is dominated by things that keep them happy, right? So you don't necessarily have time to go and watch like Raw and SmackDown. And when I'm watching TV now, I don't usually put wrestling on. I'll put on a TV show or something, you know, like we have the hipster cable of like Netflix and stuff. Rob Cunningham, Kurt Angle, time to unsub. How can you not like Angle? How can you not like him? He's a fantastically proficient wrestler. His whole time where he was like shilling for Stone Cold, and Stone Cold was doing that thing where he was pretending he was insane and like listening to his watch. And he gave Angle the tiny cowboy hat. Oh my god, it was so good. That was during the Raw SmackDown, like when it was the two kids. It was McMahon's kids. And they were basically like fighting over the two franchises. That was a fantastic time in wrestling. Can't tell me it wasn't. It was great. Oh my god, I'm having a fight right now. Rob's like fighting with me about wrestling, which is great. Gangrel was ace. Yes, he was. What else we got? Oh my gosh, we're almost done. Holy moly. I've been chatting with the chat for an hour and a half. We're 8 minutes from the end. So holy moly, I should take some stuff from the Server Monkey just to actually do so. That went by super fast. And my kids haven't been out here yet either, which is like unheard of now for one of these things, which is, I'm gonna knock on wood, because obviously I've totally jinxed it. What else we got here? Let's look at some actual like mailbox ones. Because if we don't, I will have missed out completely. And I may have, as often happens, I may have actually already answered some of these because like they tend to be topical, like to the time. So like if there's an 8th edition one, I'm just gonna skip it because it's probably already been answered. Steve is my Clarence asks, hi Ash, I have a daughter due soon. Should I replace my paint with whiskey for the next few years? Lucky I don't have a live show for her to crash. No, just keep your paints the way they are. You're fine. Kids are great, man. Like, you just gotta... The best thing about kids is kids teach you to roll with anything. If you can just survive your kids and let go of, like, feeling like you're trying to control everything all the time, you'll have a fantastic time as a parent. C12 asks, hi Ash, what wargaming YouTube channels do you watch? The answer is literally none. I don't watch anything on YouTube wargaming related. If I see things on... I mean, that's a lie. I will occasionally see videos pop up, and I might watch, like, 30 to 40 seconds of a video, you know, if it looks interesting, but mostly if it looks interesting technically, if it's doing something I haven't seen before. But like I do so much hobbying like in my own life, just like building and painting miniatures. I don't have, and I play games all the time. I don't have that need to like experience games through YouTube, and I don't really watch YouTube in general. Like I watch YouTube for like movie trailers, you know, like I don't go to YouTube for much. So I'm a terrible person to ask because I don't really watch much. Like I'm aware of them in the general sense of like I know what other YouTube channels are out there, but I couldn't tell you what they're doing or who the people on them are, like at all. Which is a bit embarrassing because like I've had people come and say hi to me at conventions that are on YouTube, and unless I know them already, like I know them in real life, or I knew their career, like being in the industry, I often won't recognize them and I feel bad. Like I feel like I've insulted them or been rude, but I just don't watch YouTube really. I especially don't watch wargaming on YouTube because I wargame in real life. Lonely Brick asks, thoughts on chibi games like Super Dungeon Explorer, etc. They're great, man. They're board games. Like it's funny because like a lot of those games, yes, they have miniatures in them, but I don't consider them miniature games. I consider them board games. Do people paint them and treat them like miniatures? Of course they do. People do that with everything. But they are board games. You know, like they are board games that use miniatures. Which is I think the dividing line between a miniature war game and a board game is Blood Bowl. Blood Bowl is not a miniature war game. Blood Bowl is a board game played with miniatures. And so those chibi games are also board games played with miniatures, not anything else. So I think they're great. I think they're totally a thing that people like. You know what I mean? Like, there's a target market for all that chibi stuff, and it's super cool. And it totally reminds me of, you know, the chibi sprites from the video games of the 80s, like Gauntlet, and those games where, like, you'd have a little sprite moving around in a top-down, you know, 2D environment, stabbing dudes like Zelda and stuff like that. So I think they're fantastic. Am I super excited about them? I probably wouldn't ever film a game with them because I wouldn't want to paint them all. It's a lot of stuff to paint for a board game. Tim the Enchanter asks, how long do you sleep a day? So, Tim the Enchanter, I probably sleep about 4 hours a day. Thereabouts. Probably about 4 hours. I go to bed around midnight, usually just after midnight, and I wake up around 5:45 or 6. But from the time I go to bed to the time I fall asleep, there's probably an hour of me like laying there on my iPad reading. Because I read to go to sleep every night. So like, if I go to bed around 12:15, I'm probably up by 1, and I'm up around 5:45. So like 4 or 5 hours a night is usually what I probably get in sleep wise, and that's it. And but I mean, that's honestly, that's predates me having kids. Because before that, when I was, you know, working for Workshop and traveling a ton, I'd be up for 7 a.m. Like I would always catch the first flight out if I could to have like a whole day where I was going. Because sometimes, man, to get where you're going, sometimes when you're doing commuter travel, especially in North America, you can have like 2 or 3 stops. Like there could just never be a direct flight, or the direct flight is like 5 times more expensive. So like I could get up, and there's time zones too, right? So when you're traveling, I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, catch a 7 a.m. flight, and not be there for 8 hours, right? So like, and that's the difference between getting some work in, because I get in there like 3 o'clock in the afternoon based on like time shifts and number of stops, or not. So I'm just used to going to bed at midnight and sleeping for 4 or 5 hours and getting up and doing it again. I mean, I'm no, what's that guy's name? The Navy SEAL guy who's like always posting pictures on Instagram of his watch. He fights MMA fighters and stuff now. I can't remember his name. I know that guy, but I'm pretty used to having 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night. And I'm pretty sure I look like it. You know what I mean? Like between the gray hair and like the bags under my eyes, I'm pretty sure I look like it. But that's, I mean, that predates me having kids. Like I'm a guy who's just slowly aging. Well, not even slowly, quickly aging in front of you guys. Ty asks, you mentioned starting a new Guard Army for 8th edition. What's your theme or inspiration for the new force? Models I haven't painted yet is probably going to be the theme or inspiration, and that's going to be it, because I don't really know what else. There's a ton of new models that I like, although I do have a bunch of Valkyries, so I'm actually kind of stoked to just paint a bunch of Valkyries and play with them. And the last question is perfectly timed from the mailbox. There's only 8 questions in here today, because people are just stopped using the inbox, now they can chat with me live. Ants in My Eyes Johnson says, that's a Rick and Morty reference. Hey Ash, I'm looking at starting a Soul Drinker Space Marine Army Pre-Mutations. Can you suggest to take and which codex to use? Help a brother out. So, whatever the new Imperium Codex is for 8th edition. I'm pretty sure in the new edition of 40k, you're just going to be able to take stuff from the Imperium and stuff anyway. So, like, that'll, you know, like, you'll be able to take whatever you want. Like, if it has the Imperium keyword, you can probably just take it. So I'm excited about that, because it means I can paint those new Space Marines, those Primera Space Marines from the box set, and paint some Guard and just have, like, my Imperial force, basically, the stuff I want to paint. Which will be incredibly smart game design-wise, because it means the game director can just sell whatever model kits people like to them, and they can use them in a game, because that should be the way it is. It should be like Shadow War. Just buy the models you like and play a game with them. Kurt versus Shane McMahon was fun. Oh, look, Rob. So back to the chat now. Rob fessed up that there was a good match with Kurt Angle in it, which I like. Merrick Wolf says Paw Patrol rules my TV. They got off Paw Patrol just recently onto this show called The Dinosaur Train. That is like, there's only one season of it from like 2011, but it's by the Jim Henson Company, and it's 40 episodes. It's so many episodes. It was great. I could just leave it on and they would just watch The Dinosaur Train. But it has like the catchiest like theme song. So like. And the Paw Patrol theme song is pretty bad too, but like that Dinosaur Train theme song has been in my head for like a month now. It's been awful. It's not as bad as the Sarah and Duck theme song, but it's pretty bad. It's been like wrapped around my brain. Like Egan says, Paw Patrol and Octonauts marathons. Yeah, it's, you know, you guys understand. You know. Quinn Murphy says you have chat. You don't need Survey Monkey. Well, yeah, it's true. What else we got here? Sandman and Tommy Dreamer for ECW. Yeah, man. The ECW Hardy Boys stuff with like Sign Guy Dudley. That was my jam, man. That old ECW stuff was awesome. We're winding down. It's 3:30. We've been going for 90 minutes, so let's just finish up. What else we got here? There won't be a lot. Sacred Lofty asks, what sort of movies, TV shows do you have on when you're background, when you're sewing and painting? I usually end up watching stuff instead of painting. So like, most recently I've been doing TV series, because I find that's the best. When you're doing something that's going to be like 3 or 4 hours, you want something that you can dig into and it keeps going for 3 or 4 hours. So I tend to put on TV series. So I just finished watching the most recent series of House of Cards while I was building and painting stuff, which was great, as every season of House of Cards has been. And now I'm on to Homeland, because I didn't even realize they were still making Homeland, but there's a new season of Homeland out, so I'm on season 5 of Homeland. There's another good one. So I like those slow burn things. What else we got? Maria says, hey Ash, if you're still going on, what color scheme should I use the Itsunagi miniature? I'll practice to get it at least passing job, but still I'd like a suggestion on how to paint it. So it's not. So it got there. Yay! I hope it got to you. I sent it out like a week and a half ago or something like that, so it should be there soon. And Marius won the Itsunagi miniature from the draw for the first live show I did. He's a lot of like padded armor, so I would just start with like a deep green, like an emerald or even a jade green, and then just paint all the details around it. So like a jade green is probably going to be the most snaky kind of color, and then lots of nice bright red highlights would be what I would do. What else we got? Caesar Press says, damn, that's supposed to be bad for your health. You need at least 6 hours of sleep. I mean, for your circadian rhythms, you do, but I also sometimes will catch a nap during the day. So, like, I won't lie. Like, if I'm not doing a live show with you guys, that couch behind me is incredibly comfortable. It is a big California-sized couch, and I have had a lot of naps on that couch. So, to say I sleep like 4.5 hours, maybe 5 hours a night, I catch naps during the day sometimes because I go to the gym every day. Well, not every day, probably 5 days a week right now because I take 2 days off to film. And taking a nap after that is fantastic because your body can recuperate and you can, repair torn muscles and stuff like that. And your muscle fibers will repair. So there's lots and lots of like times where I'll catch naps, but that's a trick that when you're a parent, you just know when your kids sleep, you sleep. Or I'll build and paint stuff. Or I'll even just divide it up in half. Like I'll build and paint stuff for half an hour and then I'll reward myself by like laying down and just passing out for like 45 minutes to an hour. I have the uncanny ability to sleep anywhere, which again I got from traveling so much. Like I can fall, like literally, I am programmed to fall asleep on airplanes. As soon as the cabin pressurizes and we start to take off, and like that weight hits me, I'm just asleep. I'm like this. I think you guys saw once there was one of my most popular Facebook posts from the last year was I'd put my iPad on, I put my earbuds in when I was going to. I think it was when I flying to Tucson. And it was like it was a long flight, but like it was I probably got up at 3:30, was at the airport by 4:30 or 5, caught my flight for 6, and like as the plane took off, I fell asleep listening to Slayer, and I woke up listening to Sepultura, and like it was I have no idea it was playing the playlist, but I took a picture of the playlist and it was all just like 40 or 50 metal songs like in a row, and I have no recollection of hearing any of them. I can fall asleep on a plane through anything, and I can fall asleep on a couch just as easily, so it's all good. What else we got? Ash, if you were made as a model, what mount would you have? If you made me as a miniature, I mean, that's all by theme, right? But if you made me as like a fantasy miniature, one of my favorite all-time, and this everyone says this, but one of my favorite all-time paintings by Frank Frazetta is the Death Dealer, and it's that photo of him where he kind of looks like tired and old, and he's on the horse, and he's got the shield and the sword and the big horn helmet. I would want if I could be the Death Dealer, that would be the ultimate miniature. It'd be amazing with like the horn helmet. Looks like the Dragonborn. I'm pretty sure the entire inspiration for the Dragonborn from Skyrim is the Death Dealer, who is one of the greatest concepts Frazetta ever did. Which is fantastic. All right, so we're just about done. Marty Race, Sarenduck, quack. Yes, I can't actually say Sarenduck in a room with my kids without them both quacking at me after I say that term. What else we got here? I think we're about to sign off. Devin Wong says you recently played some Infinity with my buddy Scott McKenzie. Yes, I did. Can't wait to see the videos. Where'd you get the deck holders for Malifaux? So the deck holders for Malifaux were a studio warming gift from my buddy Jason. So they are homemade, and I don't know where to buy them, but you should just Google deck holders bridge, maybe, and see what you can find. I'm sure there's some out there. Yeah, I think I'm done. I think that's it. I think we're pretty much done. Male of the Shinobi, the warrior from Ice and Fire is pretty slick too. His name is Darkwolf. Yes, that's Darkwolf. The guy with the panther hat. He's wearing like a panther on his head, basically. That's Darkwolf. He's awesome. Yeah, we're done. That's it. I think we're finished. So we've been over 90 minutes now. Recap. Go check out, if you didn't see it, go check out the new stuff from, because everyone's just kind of like chatting at me now. Go check out the new stuff from good old Death Ray Designs. We've got these awesome things right here. Link in the video description below. So if you guys, if you ever see, so two things, you can do me a huge favor, guys. If you ever see anyone ask where I get the widgets from, or where my widgets and games are from, tell them this link, because it saves me having to do it every single time. And from now on, this will be linked in the video description. So if you're wondering where to get the widgets I'm using in the videos, blah, 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 there'll be in a section on Death Ray Designs, and there'll be more stuff coming from them in the future too. So if you do want to see or grab something that's from, whoa, that's not the right one. I want to show you this right here. If you do want to see that stuff in the future, it'll all be available for them. I'm super stoked for it. I think it looks rad. And I should probably show you guys this as well, which is, if you haven't seen it, because I never actually did anything on the whatchamacallit, on the YouTube channel about it. But if you guys haven't seen the t-shirt from Nerd Gore that I commissioned. It is so rad, and it's available too through Spreadshirt. So these two things are both like the sort of like ways that I'm expanding out what we do, and that's another way that you can support sort of like what we have going on here at the co-op as we go forward. So that's it for me today. I think we're all done until next Monday. So next Monday is going to be a patron one. So we'll do a patron sit and chat. So if you're one of my patrons, make sure you catch it. It'll be at 2 p.m. EST yet again. And yeah, happy birthday to me. Another 2 years, made another year at the co-op, and we made a whole bunch of videos. And I'm glad you guys enjoyed them. So we'll see you guys for more of this in the future. And when I come back around to talk to you guys on Monday, if you have any more questions, put them in the mailbox, or just come hang out with me and ask them. Yeah, that's it. Happy wargaming.